Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Saints and Appetizers podcast. And who dat? And I'm Ethan. And man, that may have been the Saints' worst performance of the season. And that was really hard to watch from start to finish. Like they weren't competitive at all on offense, special teams, or defense. Like, uh, like at least in the last couple games, you could at least rely on the offense to put up some points, and if nothing else, the running game was going to be competitive, and you could rely on the running game. Just nothing in this game was worth watching. Like this game was almost not even worth tuning into. But uh, let's get into this and let's start breaking down this game. So, can I get a menu? And so this was just a complete opposite of the Raiders game, Las Vegas Raiders game. Basically, the Ravens did what we did, what the New Orleans Saints did to the Las Vegas Raiders last week. Like the Saints couldn't do hardly anything on offense, defense, special teams, and this game uh, basically started out like the last six games besides the Raiders game. The Saints came out on offense, and basically they had one good play. A pretty long pass play completed, and then went three and out off the field. And then their defense, it looked good on the first couple, the first two drives that they were on the field. I think the Ravens got like a first down, and then they got a three and out, got three plays, got the Ravens off the field, and then of course the Saints get back on the field, and then they go three and out, got off the field, and then the Ravens get the ball back, and they actually force a three and out, and then okay, it was all downhill from then, and then they just looked like absolute garbage for the rest of the game, and we have seen that. We've seen that. It's just so weird that the Saints defense will start out like looking great, and then they just completely fall apart in games after looking great. Like on the first couple drives, they look good. It's like opposing offenses like figure them out after like the first couple drives, and or like the defense just once they see how inept or something that their side of the offensive side of the ball is, as if they just like give up or something, or it's like you've heard of how offenses have like scripted plays or something, like 15 to 20 scripted plays. It's like the defense has like scripted plays or something, and like after they run like I don't know, like a dozen scripted plays to start the game, then they like run out of good defensive game plan. Their game plan is like they don't have a good game plan after that, and then they just completely are terrible after that. And then on the Ravens' third drive, they just completely marched down the field and complete what was it, a 23, 20, 27-yard pass play on that beautiful it's like it looks like a design like run play, like they were faking like they were going to do like a quarterback power play to the right, and then likely that receiver slash tight end was just wide open. He had Tyrann Mathieu trailing him as he was like wide open in the right back side of the end zone. And it was just awful. Like my this game was just hard to watch, you know. And I I can't believe like I actually had hope throughout the majority of this game, like that they were going to get something going, and then it's like 14 to nothing, uh, and towards the end of the first half. and the Saints actually look like they're going to put something together, a drive together, a 2 minute drive together. And I've said that I don't really care who the quarterback is, and I said I don't really care one way or the other. Like, it doesn't matter to me. Like, I don't like Jameis Winston more than Andy Dalton, and I don't like Andy Dalton more than Jameis Winston. I said it doesn't really matter at this point. But when Andy Dalton missed Marquez Callaway when he was wide open to cut into that lead, seven to make it possibly make it 17-14 when Marquez Callaway was wide open. Like, I'm really annoyed. Like, I honestly don't really care for Andy Dalton now anymore after that, because it's just he, over the stretch of him starting now, it's pretty obvious now that he is awful when it comes to being in the red zone. He is just terrible at punching it in once they get in the red zone or in goal to go situations. He's just terrible. I don't know what it is. I don't know why he's not able to score or get them into the end zone. It's just awful. It's so frustrating. Like, he was wide open and just sailed it over his head. And like, I think like that was really the nail in the coffin for the New Orleans Saints, was missing that. Like, that would have changed the entire game if they could have scored right then. And that's just like a microcosm of the Saints season, not being able to score there. And like, really, it did seem like the Saints were playing like bad throughout the game, but like, really, if you could have scored then, the game would have been not that bad, because I mean the Saints played pretty well, like, defensively through like the remaining portion of like the second half. They didn't really allow that many points uh, in the second half, honestly, because like going into like the fourth quarter, they get down in another like goal to go situation where it's when it's still just 17-7, or yeah, 17-3. So I mean, if they could have scored a touchdown there, it would have been 10-17, and I mean, it would have only still just been a one score game then. And once again, Andy Dalton couldn't get it into the end zone there. And of course, it's what was it? It was 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, and Marlon Humphrey comes off the left edge completely unblocked and sacks Andy Dalton. And I don't even know why. They probably should have just went for it there, because kicking a field goal at that point was just like accepting defeat at that point in the game. Like, it was completely pointless kicking that field goal, making it 17-6 at that point in the game. Like, I don't even know what the point of that was. And then still, they were still kind of in the game once I think they got they got a 3 and out, and then first play after getting that 3 and out, you throw an interception. It gets tipped up in the air and intercepted by Justin Houston. And 3 plays later, you got Kenyon Drake pounding it into the end zone for a 3-yard touchdown. And then it was just over after that. And then you got a garbage time touchdown later by Juwan Johnson for a 41-yard touchdown, where Marcus Peters just doesn't push him out of bounds. That was just a weird play there. He was literally just like standing there on the sidelines, looking at him while he prances into the end zone. That was so weird. Like, Marcus Peters or Juwan Johnson. He's had some weird garbage time touchdowns, but and I was saying after the Cardinals game where he had two garbage time touchdowns, how at least he doesn't give up when their Saints are getting blown out. So you got to credit for Juwan Johnson for not giving up, still giving good effort when the Saints are just getting beat down in some of these games. But just looking at some of these stats here, even though they're pretty ugly. All right. Andy Dalton, he was 19 for 29 for 110 yards, touchdown and an interception, and he was sacked four times for 28-yard loss, a QBR of 24.5, and a quarterback rating of 84. Yeah, uh, nothing nothing to get excited about. Definitely when he probably should have three touchdowns instead of just the one because he was so inept in the red zone. And it's the thing that really highlight here is the four sacks. You know, he just was harassed all night. The offensive line it was just odd that they couldn't protect him all night, and just it was just bad. The Ravens really just coming from um, different blitzing schemes coming from different areas. They did a really good job of confusing the Saints offensive line with different blitzes and stunts. They definitely just got after Andy Dalton all night. Like really the only time he looked good and the offensive line looked good was on the 2 minute drive at the end of the first half. Uh, and then we have the rushing stats, which are probably the ugliest thing, honestly. Alvin Kamara only got 9 carries, just 9 carries for uh, for 30 yards, which is like a 3.3 average with just a 10-yard long, which is just that's terrible. And should tell you just how bad the game plan was. Taysom Hill only got 1 carry for which was a 6-yard long. Like Taysom Hill should be getting a lot more touches than that. And also, in addition to that, Taysom with just a total of Taysom Hill's touches, he got also one passing attempt for which was completed for 13 yards. Taysom Hill should be getting a lot more touches than just 2 touches in the game. Like that's unacceptable considering he's probably one of your best offensive weapons. And then when it comes to receivers and whatnot, Chris Olave, he's gonna do what he does. He had 6 catches on 9 targets for 71 yards. And then Juwan Johnson, he had his 2 catches for 42 yards, all of that coming on the 41-yard touchdown, pretty much in garbage time off of the 2 targets. And then Alvin Kamara had 3 catches for 32 yards on 4 targets. Just nothing on offense to get too excited about. Probably the most surprising stat on here, which was, and that's in an and in a good way, I guess, and a positive, I guess, was on defense, which comes off of defense. The Saints uh, actually sacked Lamar Jackson 3 times, which just looking back at this, I guess I didn't see it. Watching the game live, I guess if I went back uh, and watched it, maybe I'd have seen it, but I'm very surprised that they actually sacked him 3 times in this game because which they should have sacked him more than that. There were so many almost sacks that they had on him where they were all over him and were all in his face, and he was able to get away and should have had a sack fumble on him at one time, and he picked it up and almost completed it for like a 55, 60-yard pass. And luckily, Alontae Taylor was there to knock it away. This game was just ugly in every way, shape, or form. Even special teams was bad. On like I think it was on the first or second punt of the game, Rashid Shaheed should have came up and fielded it like at like the 40, their own 40-yard line instead of fielding it. He lets it drop and it rolls for like I don't even know, it rolled for like 25 yards or something instead, and it ends up stopping like at the Saints 20-yard line or something, Saints 15 or something. Like they were just bad all around. Yeah, but those are some stats. Nothing to get excited about. The only real player that played any good was Chris Olave with his 6 catches for 71 yards. And then just to add injury to insult, man, the injury bug is popping up again. We thought the Saints were lucky to get out of the Raiders game last week pretty much unscathed, but they popped up again in this game. And the one that first started it off was it was came off of like I think it was off of a deep shot to Sean Jackson, I think. Or it was either Deshaun Jackson or uh, one of their other receivers. I don't, not sure who it came off of, but luckily it was incomplete into the end zone, and uh, Alontae Taylor came up lame on that play. I don't know if it was a knee or an ankle or something. He was down in the back of the end zone, but luckily I think he was able to come back into the game after that. But it was like, oh, with how bad the defense is already playing, that's all they need is one of their only healthy cornerbacks, probably the best one, the one that's playing the best at the moment to go down. And then throughout the game, they just started dropping players, starters, some of their best players and starters just started dropping like flies. Then Pete Werner went down, probably arguably their best player on defense. He went out with an ankle injury, and then I think that happened on the same play. Marcus Davenport, he went out with a calf injury, which it's surprising that he's been as healthy as he has throughout the season. So I guess it was really only a matter of time that he went out, and then later on, Eric McCoy went out with a knee injury. So it's just like this game was just about as bad and as painful as it could get. This was just a horrible game for the Saints on all aspects, from basically getting blown out, the offense, defense, special teams, a bunch of injuries in the aftermath of it. Just terrible game, man. And I guess I seem to say this after every game, but let's talk about our boy. Let's talk about our guy, Dennis Allen, because I think someone should have reminded him or let him know that we weren't playing the Las Vegas Raiders this week. We weren't playing the Las Vegas Raiders. We weren't playing his ex team, the Raiders, on Monday night. We weren't playing them. This isn't baseball. This isn't MLB. We don't play back to backs. We don't play the same team week to week. We were playing a much better team in the Baltimore Ravens, this week, and seems like he was really hyped up to play his ex team, the Raiders, last week. But it just seems as if the team wasn't prepared to play a better team in the Baltimore Ravens this week. And even though I picked the Saints to actually beat the Ravens, I made that mistake. I should have known better than that. That the Raiders really weren't as good a team as even I was thinking, because their win, I mentioned that their win the week before, their second win of their season, came against the Houston Texans. Really, how impressive really was that? And I think Dennis Allen, he should have took that into consideration as well. So really, how impressive was that win of the Saints last week, even though they shut them out 24-0? How impressive what was that win of the Saints? It really wasn't that impressive at all. So that the Saints should have expected uh, to beat the Ravens at all. Should they shouldn't have. That it was pretty clear from start to finish that the Ravens were just a better team, and to expect the Saints to do anything when Dennis Allen and Andy Dalton or Jameis Winston are your quarterback, it's just you're fooling yourself, honestly. And after this game, you're just hearing the same stuff from Dennis Allen about having to clean it up and don't shoot yourself in the foot, and uh, we'll get them next time, and it is what it is. We got things to work on. It's just I just uh, we just need a new coach, need a franchise quarterback. That's pretty much the only way anything's going to get better around here. And uh, do I have hope that the Saints can maybe still uh, get back into the race in the NFC? I still think there's maybe a little glimmer of hope, because do I have confidence, that much confidence in the Buccaneers or in the Falcons? Not really, because I mean the Buccaneers play the Seahawks next week in London, and not 100% sure who the Falcons play, but the Seahawks are really good. So if I was to bet, I would imagine the Seahawks will probably beat the Bucks, and then the Saints, they play the Steelers. But my main concern about them is, of course, uh, T.J. Watt's been out all season, but of course, once the Saints play them, of course, that's the game T.J. Watt's going to come back for. And with the way the Saints offensive line played last week, uh, or just Monday against the Ravens, he'll probably get like 3 sacks against against the against the Saints offensive line. He'll probably get 3 sacks on his own on Andy Dalton. So it's like perfect timing that TJ Watt's coming back against the game against the Saints. That'll be his first game back. So that's just the Saints' luck for this season. I think that's funny how the schedule works out for the Saints. Same thing with how Roquan Smith, his first game back for the Saints, or against the Saints after getting traded. Of course, it's against the Saints. First game for T.J. Watt coming back uh, from injury is against the Saints. The second game back for Deshaun Watson after he plays his former team in the Texans is against the Saints. It's just weird. It's weird how all that plays out uh, for the Saints. It's just kind of funny. The schedule makers did a good job in that. But anyways, let's get to the hot take here. And my hot take here, and I said this was all predicated on if Jarvis Landry played, and it was funny how they were talking about how, oh, he's not warming up with the practice squad. I seen some media people saying this, and they were like, oh, it's a good sign. He's not warming up with the practice squad. And he was limited in practice all week, and he was listed as questionable, and they said, "Oh, it's a good sign. He looks like he might play." And then what do you know? He didn't play. So yeah, people are really annoyed about Michael Thomas. Well, I'm just as over Jarvis Landry just as much, honestly. May not have the tomfoolery with the doctors and the natural healing and let it heal on its own and uh, not having surgery when he should have. But I don't know why he didn't go on uh, IR right after the Vikings game. Why hasn't he been on put on IR after the Vikings game? This is going to be what his fifth game. That was his fifth game that he's missed. I thought if you're going to miss more than 4 games or something like that, you should be put on part-time IR. So what is the deal with that? That goes back to Dennis Allen. Like, he's been mismanaging injuries so far. Like, if you're going to miss more than 4 games, then you should be put on IR. That's wasting roster spots. You should have someone else in here, not just having someone waste a roster spot while they're injured. So that was a wasted hot take for me. Talking about wasting something, that was a wasted hot take by me because I was gonna say that I thought Jarvis Landry, if he played in this game, was gonna catch a touchdown, but that wasn't gonna happen anyways, even if he did play in this game, because we know that Andy Dalton couldn't have gotten him the ball anyways. And, if they were in the red zone or goal to goal, he wouldn't have been able to complete a touchdown to him anyways. It would have had to have been like a 50-yard touchdown because once they get down in that 25 red zone area, there's no way he's going to be able to complete a touchdown to him. I don't think Jarvis Landry doesn't have a touchdown all year anyways in the 3 or 4 games that he's actually played in, so it probably wouldn't have happened anyways. So then on to my score. I picked the Saints to win, but I was actually close in my score because I picked the Saints to win 27-20. But the score was actually flipped around 20-13. So I was actually pretty close because I picked 27-20 by the Saints. So they were very close if the Saints would have scored a touchdown to make it 27-20 Ravens. So my score prediction was pretty close, but it would have been flipped around with the Ravens winning anyways. But I think that's all I have for you. So who dat? And can I get a check, please?